provocation of all Muslim emotions around the world is still going, without any respect from any country in the Western society, and also without any deterrent from any country in the Middle East. The episode started in Sweden when a fool burned the Quran in Stockholm City outside the Turkish embassy. And after this, the Quran started to be burned easily in so many different places.
Het gaat hier gewoon om een vrijheid van meningsuiting. En ik vind gewoon dat dat moet kunnen in Nederland. En eindelijk heeft de burgemeester dus nu ook gezien naar flarden. Want de Koran heeft hier in Nederland gewoon helemaal niks te zoeken. Wanneer ik een Koran en een flarden wil scheuren, moet dat gewoon kunnen. Maar zo moet het kunnen. En eindelijk de burgemeester die het wel durft. Die wel gewoon zegt van dit mag, dit moet kunnen. Hoogste tijd. Het is net zo erg als de Mein Kampf. Aanhangers volgen dezelfde ideologie als Hitler. En iedereen weet waar dat toe geleid heeft in ons land. Nog even hierop dansen ook.
And then the voices start to raise above in so many different countries in the Western society, asking their governments to have the full authorities to burn the Quran. A provocation process behind it very evil aims. And to understand how bad is it, the man who burned the Quran in Stockholm City in Sweden had the full authority from the Swedish government to do it in the street outside the Turkish embassy, in front of everyone. Provocation of over about 2 billion Muslims from around the world by burning the holy book of their religion is not a funny movement but a stupid way to show how idiot you are. Wait, let me tell you more. In Sweden, you can burn the Quran, but you don't dare touch the Torah. A 34-year-old man had just been prevented by the Swedish government from burning the Torah in Stockholm City outside the Israeli embassy. The main idea remains here is that it is not in your favor to burn any holy book of any religion. But their burning the Quran was proposal to spark a debate. It was in the last 2 weeks when Sweden gave the full authorities to one of her people to burn the Quran in the street outside the Turkish embassy in Stockholm City in front of everyone, under the police protection and the government approval.
Welcome to this protest today. I am Rasheed Ahmed and I'm going to start by making an address in English för att vi kan gå med i NATO. Och sen kan man fråga, ska Sverige...
Which led the relationships between Sweden and Turkey to be strained, which was fragile. And to understand why the relationships between them was fragile, we must talk a little bit about the constitution of NATO.
At this summit, we will address all the issues that affect our security. Russia's war in Ukraine, cyber, terrorism, disruptive technologies, and many other threats and challenges. NATO's open door policy has been an historic success. Welcoming Finland and Sweden into the alliance will make them safer, NATO stronger, and the Euro-Atlantic area more secure. We will further strengthen our deterrence and defense with more forces, increased readiness, and stronger capabilities. We will adopt a more comprehensive assistance package for Ukraine and sustain our unprecedented support for the country's self-defense. A warm welcome to our close partners, Finland, Sweden, Georgia, and the European Union. And for the first time at the NATO summit, to our Indo-Pacific partners, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the Republic of Korea. Thank you for coming here to sign this letter of commitment for the new NATO Innovation Fund. This fund is unique. It is the world's first multi-sovereign venture capital fund ever. Today we will discuss how NATO can address the causes of instability and step up our efforts in the fight against terrorism.
Sweden and Finland from the beginning of the Russian-Ukrainian war want to join to the NATO. And to organize any country for NATO, all country members must agree to the request of joining. But Turkey was pending the request of the two countries to join until they hand them over the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the enemy of Turkey. Sweden refused the request from the ground up, but is still in negotiations with Turkey.
This is the PKK, and it's listed as a terrorist organization by many countries around the world. To understand why, we need to go back to the 1970s. A group of students led by Abdullah Öcalan came together to set up a Marxist-Leninist region across southeast Turkey. In 1984, the PKK began its armed guerrilla campaign against Turkey. It started attacking state officials and civilians across the country. Villages were burned down, children were kidnapped, there were suicide bombings, and people were murdered. During the same period, the US State Department published numerous reports about the PKK's involvement in organized crime and drug trafficking. These events later led the US government to officially list the PKK as a terrorist organization. Giving in to the ongoing pressure of Turkey, Syria also stopped openly harboring the PKK. This pushed them to move their headquarters to the Kandil Mountains in northern Iraq, just across the border from Turkey, where it remains today. By 2004, the PKK's attacks upon the Turkish state rose once again. As long as the PKK continues to get the West's blessing, it's not just the people of Turkey, but also the Arabs, Kurds, and the Turkmens of the region who will suffer.
The last event led this matter to be eventually suspended after the heinous act of burning the Quran, which led the Turkish government to cancel the visit of the defense minister to Ankara. We also witnessed the Swedish Prime Minister when he came out publicly defending about the vile act and just wrote this. He said, "What our man did by burning the Quran is just a freedom of expression." What is going on? What kind of freedom of expression you're talking about by burning the holy book of Islam? Because to anyone with a basic level of intellect, the only thing we're saying here is not a freedom of expression, is a freedom of hypocrisy. Now, let me be clear and tell you one thing. Burning any holy book of any religion or even a scripture is totally and ethically unacceptable. The Torah is a book that all Muslim people have respect for. A book that Allah had described in the Quran that was sent by guidance and light. It is an respectful act to burn the Quran and insult it. And now let me tell you about just some of the strict rules in Europe. In Sweden, insulting the king could put you in prison for 2 years. In France, insulting the flag, 6 months in prison. In Germany, insulting the flag, 3 years in prison. In Denmark, insulting the flag, 2 years in prison. Even questioning about the Holocaust France could put you in prison for 1 year. It's only about strictness and hardness. You either believe in the freedom of speech or you don't. You cannot selectively apply it whenever it goes to your favor. Because if this really was about debate, we would have no problem with it. The Quran itself invites people to challenge it. If you have any doubt about this book, then bring something like it if you can. Even it's a single chapter. Find just an error. in this book if you claim it's not diving. A challenge that had left its detractors with no other response but burning the book? How pitiful. While you parade yourself as nations that are possession of progress and social advancements, ask yourself this question. How progressive and cohesive is really your society, where a culture of insult, obscenity, and disrespect is normalized? Perhaps you should take a read for our book and learn a little bit about building a cohesive society. A book that teaches us to respect other faiths and never insult those who invoke other than Allah. وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. A book that teaches us not to insult, mock, or ridicule other people. لَا يَسْخَرُ قَوْمٍ مِّن قَوْمٍ. A book that teaches us to learn from our neighbors. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. To respect them and not to disgrace them. Guess what? Even if you continue to burn every Quran on earth, what are you gonna achieve? By Allah, we make a law that if you continue to burn every Quran on earth, we will bring the Quran within a day. Cover to cover, page to page, word for word, and letter for letter. You cannot easily burn that which preserved in our hearts. And let me end this episode by giving you a very small message, which is that stop burning and start learning.